You are standing in the chocolate aisle at Woolworths, or maybe Coles, picking up something wrapped in purple foil or a familiar red wrapper, and you think you already know what is in your hand. You do not. That chocolate bar you have been reaching for since childhood, the one your grandkids beg for, the one you drop into the trolley without thinking, may contain titanium dioxide, the industrial whitening agent used in house paint and sunscreen. It may contain TBHQ, a synthetic preservative 1 molecular step removed from butane lighter fluid. It may contain palm oil from plantations linked to child labour and deforestation, listed quietly as vegetable fat because companies know you would ask questions if they named it honestly. Today, we are counting down 10 chocolate brands sold in Australian supermarkets that you should stop buying. We checked the ingredients, tracked the lawsuits, and cross-referenced claims against Food Standards Australia New Zealand findings and independent laboratory testing. Stay until the end, because we are revealing 5 brands that are clean, honestly sourced, and genuinely worth your money. The safe list might surprise you. At number 10, Cadbury Dairy Milk, the purple block in nearly every Australian pantry. For most people watching this, Cadbury is not just a chocolate brand. It is a childhood memory, a Christmas gift, the block you split with someone you love. Mondelez International, the American corporation that owns Cadbury, has been cashing in on that trust while quietly changing what goes inside the wrapper. In 2009, Cadbury Australia replaced cocoa butter with palm oil. The backlash was furious. After months of pressure, they reversed course, but that scandal was only the beginning. Today, Cadbury Dairy Milk contains PGPR, polyglycerol polyricinoleate, a synthetic emulsifier made from castor oil, added not for your benefit, but to cut production costs by replacing expensive cocoa butter. PGPR has zero nutritional value, and independent researchers have flagged it as a gastrointestinal irritant. A standard 200-gram block contains over 100 grams of refined sugar. For Australians managing type 2 diabetes, which affects over 1.3 million people according to Diabetes Australia, that is not a treat. It is a trigger. Snap a square and notice how instantly it dissolves. Real high cocoa chocolate requires chewing. This melts like refined sugar because that is most of what it is. At number 9, Kit Kat, the break you were told you deserved. Nestle has been making Kit Kat in Australia for decades, and the brand's cultural saturation makes people stop thinking critically. Let us start. Nestle's cocoa supply chain has faced serious international scrutiny. In 2021, a United States federal case attempted to hold Nestle and Cargill accountable for child labour in cocoa operations in West Africa. Dismissed on jurisdictional grounds, the underlying evidence documented by the International Labour Organization showed children as young as 5 in cocoa harvesting that supplies major chocolate brands. When you buy Kit Kat, you fund a system with that history. The ingredients are equally troubling. Kit Kat contains TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a synthetic preservative. The European Food Safety Authority identified immune system effects at elevated exposure. FSANZ permits TBHQ, but permitted is not the same as safe, and no regulator has assessed cumulative exposure across multiple Nestle products in a single week. Kit Kat also contains artificial flavouring, palm oil, and soy lecithin from GMO sources. The wafer contributes almost nothing nutritionally. It is refined flour, sugar, and processed fat dressed up in a wrapper you have been taught to love. At number 8, the Mars Bar, nougat, caramel, milk chocolate. 30 years of Australian advertising, calling this the fuel of champions. What Mars Incorporated is really selling you is a sugar delivery mechanism wrapped in decades of branding. A single 53-gram Mars bar contains 31 grams of sugar, nearly 8 teaspoons. The World Health Organization recommends no more than 6 teaspoons of free sugars per day for measurable health benefit. One Mars bar pushes past the entire daily limit before lunch. It also contains glucose syrup, invert sugar syrup, and added sucrose stacked together, plus palm oil from suppliers the Rainforest Action Network has repeatedly linked to companies destroying Indonesian and Malaysian rainforest. The caramel layer is largely glucose syrup and processed vegetable fat. For Australians over 50 managing cholesterol, a daily Mars bar is not a harmless habit. It is a consistent intake of refined sugar and fat, arriving in a bloodstream already working hard to stay healthy. At number 7, Freddo Frogs, Cadbury's frog-shaped chocolate aimed directly and deliberately at Australian children. Freddo is a fixture in school tuck shops and birthday bags because Cadbury designed it to build brand loyalty before a child is old enough to read a label. Let us read it for them. Each Freddo contains the same PGPR and soy lecithin as full-size Cadbury dairy milk, with sugar as the primary ingredient. A single 12-gram Freddo delivers 6.5 grams of sugar, more than half its total weight in refined sugar. For children under 12, that hit causes a blood glucose spike, followed by an energy crash that leaves them irritable and craving more. Cadbury calls it a treat. Nutritionists call it the sugar cycle. The more alarming part of the Freddo story is the marketing infrastructure behind it. Cadbury has faced sustained criticism from the Cancer Council of Australia and Obesity Australia for targeting children through Freddo campaigns using cartoon imagery, school fundraising programs, and digital advertising engineered to reach children on social media. A 2022 report by the George Institute for Global Health found Australian confectionery brands, including Cadbury, directed disproportionate advertising toward children under 14, while parents trust the smiling frog on the wrapper. At number 6, Darryl Lea. The Australian brand, family founded, nearly a century of history. For many Australians, Darryl Lea feels genuinely ours rather than another faceless multinational. That emotional connection is real. The ingredient honesty is not. Darryl Lea's chocolate range contains artificial colours including sunset yellow, E110, and tartrazine, E102. In the European Union, products containing these colours must carry a mandatory warning. This product may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. That warning is law because the science supports it. The McCann et al. Lancet study found statistically significant links between these specific colours and hyperactivity in children. Australia does not require the warning, and Darryl Lea does not add it voluntarily. Their products also contain high levels of glucose syrup and invert sugar, with some lines delivering over 60 grams of sugar per 100 grams of finished product, exceeding what the Australian dietary guidelines recommend for discretionary foods in a standard serving. Consumer advocates have flagged Darryl Lea's use of healthy lifestyle imagery in marketing materials, while the actual nutritional profile tells a very different story. Darryl Lea belongs to Australia, which is precisely why we deserve honesty from it. At number 5, Snickers, peanuts, caramel, nougat, milk chocolate, Mars Incorporated again. Decades of Australian advertising built around the premise that you are not yourself without one. A 50-gram Snickers bar contains 27 grams of sugar and 13 grams of fat, a significant portion from palm oil and processed vegetable fat. The sodium sits around 120 milligrams per bar, compounding across a full day for anyone managing blood pressure. Snickers uses glucose syrup as the primary binding agent in the nougat and caramel, refined sugar stripped of every nutritional trace. What bothers nutrition researchers most about Snickers is the illusion of sustenance it creates. The peanuts suggest protein and real food. The marketing amplifies this suggestion constantly, but the actual protein content is 4 grams per bar, the same as a single tablespoon of natural peanut butter. The hunger you feel roughly 60 minutes after eating a Snickers is not incidental. It is the blood glucose crash following the initial spike, the mechanism that sends you back to the vending machine for a second bar. For older Australians managing energy levels and heart health, Snickers is not fuel. It is a cycle dressed in peanuts. At number 4, Milky Bar. Nestlé's white chocolate brand built around the image of innocence and childhood simplicity. There is very little innocent about what is inside. White chocolate contains no cocoa solids. It is cocoa butter, sugar, and milk solids with flavouring. Milky Bar also contains titanium dioxide, listed on the label as food additive 171. Titanium dioxide is the industrial whitening agent used in house paint, sunscreen, and cosmetics. The European Food Safety Authority formally declared in 2021 that titanium dioxide can no longer be considered safe as a food additive. The EU banned it from food from August 2022. Food Standards, Australia and New Zealand reviewed the same body of evidence and did not follow with a ban. Milky Bar still contains it. It is still sold in every Coles and Woolworths in this country. Manufacturers add titanium dioxide for purely cosmetic reasons, to make the product appear whiter and more appealing on the shelf. There is no nutritional justification whatsoever. Research from the French National Institute for Agricultural Research found titanium dioxide nanoparticles can cross the intestinal barrier and accumulate in organs. FSANZ says more research is needed. The EU's Food Safety Authority concluded the existing evidence was sufficient to act. Milky Bar keeps its colour, while the cost to your body stays invisible on the label. At number 3, M and Miss Mars Incorporated's colourful sugar shell chocolate pieces found in every cinema display, every petrol station impulse aisle, and every supermarket checkout queue positioned at children's eye level. Each colour in the M&M shell is a petroleum-derived synthetic dye. Red 40, Allura Red, Yellow 5, Tartrazine, Yellow 6, Sunset Yellow, Blue 1 and Blue 2. The McCann et al. Lancet study found statistically significant increases in hyperactive behaviour in children consuming these exact dye combinations. The UK's Food Standards Agency requested manufacturers remove them, and most complied. In Australia, M&Ms retain their full petroleum-derived colour profile. The same product is sold with modified colouring in certain international markets and with the original synthetic dyes in ours. M&Ms also contain titanium dioxide, E171, banned in European food since 2022. A 45-gram serving delivers 32 grams of sugar. Nearly 3/4 of the product by weight is sugar and sugar derivatives. The actual chocolate content is minimal. The colours are petrochemical. Mars spends enormous sums ensuring their products occupy prime retail positions in every major Australian supermarket. Visibility and safety are not the same thing. The colours that make M&Ms irresistible to children are the reason to put them back. At number 2, Nestlé Crunch. The Rice Crisp chocolate bar positioned as something lighter and more playful than a standard block. Available across Australian supermarkets and carrying some of the most concerning preservative additives in the domestic chocolate category. Nestlé Crunch contains TBHQ as its primary antioxidant preservative. The European Food Safety Authority's comprehensive 2020 review of TBHQ identified genotoxicity signals, meaning potential for DNA damage, and formally recommended reducing the acceptable daily intake. The daily intake calculations assume a single serving in isolation and do not account for cumulative TBHQ exposure across a week of Nestlé products. Kit Kat contains it. Crunch contains it. Other Nestlé lines carry related additives. For Australian families buying Nestlé confectionery regularly, cumulative weekly exposure has never been formally assessed by any Australian regulatory authority. The crispy rice component has a glycemic index higher than refined white rice, and combined with the glucose syrup and sugar in the chocolate coating. 1. Nestlé Crunch Bar creates a blood sugar response similar to eating several teaspoons of pure sugar in quick succession. Children choosing Crunch for the lighter texture are receiving the same glycemic hit in a package that feels responsible. The crunch you hear is your health paying the price. At number 1, Cherry Ripe. Cadbury's dark chocolate bar filled with cherry and coconut. Australia's oldest chocolate bar, first made in 1924. 100 years of Australian tradition, the one that feels most genuinely ours. That century of trust is exactly why this entry carries the most weight. Cherry Ripe is manufactured by Mondelez International under the Cadbury license and combines the most problematic ingredients from today's list into one product wrapped in our most emotionally resonant confectionery branding. The dark chocolate coating contains PGPR, the synthetic castor oil emulsifier with zero nutritional value. The filling contains glucose syrup and Allura Red, the petroleum-derived dye the Lancet study linked to hyperactivity in children. That synthetic petroleum dye sits inside a product trading entirely on wholesome Australian nostalgia. The glucose syrup in the filling has a glycemic index of roughly 100, the same as pure glucose, entering the bloodstream faster than table sugar. For anyone managing insulin resistance or prediabetes, a Cherry Ripe is not a manageable indulgence. It is a glucose spike, followed by a cortisol crash. The dark chocolate wrapper implies antioxidant benefit. The synthetic filling eliminates any such claim. Mondelez knows the Cherry Ripe name carries 100 years of earned Australian affection. They use that knowledge not to protect your health, but to protect their margins. 100 years of trust built on ingredients you were never meant to examine. Go to your pantry right now, pull out every chocolate bar and read the ingredient labels. Count how many contain PGPR, TBHQ, food additive 171, glucose syrup, Allura Red, Tartrazine, or Sunset Yellow. Most Australians will find several of the brands just exposed sitting in their kitchen. That is not a personal failure. These companies spent billions ensuring their products dominated shelves while keeping ingredients as invisible as possible. But you know now, knowing means choosing differently. Because real chocolate still exists, made with actual cocoa, honest ingredients, and supply chains that do not depend on synthetic chemistry or hidden exploitation. Safe pick number 5, Loving Earth. Melbourne-based and genuinely Australian. Loving Earth sources certified organic cacao from small-scale farmers in Peru, Ecuador, and the Solomon Islands under verified fair trade conditions. Every product is completely free from PGPR, TBHQ, titanium dioxide, and artificial colors. The sweetener is organic coconut sugar, which carries a meaningfully lower glycemic index than the glucose syrup and refined sucrose in every brand exposed today. Their chocolate is available at Woolworths, Coles, and health food stores across Australia. It costs more than a Cadbury block, but the premium reflects real cocoa butter instead of synthetic emulsifiers and a supply chain audited for ethical practices. The texture is denser and the flavour has genuine depth that comes from quality cacao, not laboratory-engineered flavouring. For Australians who want chocolate in their lives without the additives, Loving Earth is where to start. Safe pick number 4, Alter Eco, certified organic, fair trade verified, and available at selected Coles and specialty grocers nationally. Alter Eco publishes our annual impact reports, independently verifying their supply chain claims, uses single origin cacao from Ecuador and Ghana with full traceability, and contains no TBHQ, no PGPR, no artificial colors, and no titanium dioxide. Their emulsifier is sunflower lecithin from non-GMO sources, carrying a significantly cleaner safety profile than the soy lecithin used by Nestle and Cadbury. Alter Eco also holds B Corp certification, a rigorous independent standard requiring ongoing third-party audit of social and environmental performance. For Australians who care about labour conditions, Alter Eco provides verifiable answers rather than the vague sustainability statements major manufacturers print while their supply chains continue unchanged. Safe pick number 3, Hayes Chocolates. Adelaide founded in 1915, still family owned, still manufacturing in Australia. If Cherry Ripe represents what Australian chocolate has become under multinational ownership, Hayes represents what it was always intended to be. They source cocoa beans directly from growers in Ecuador and Papua New Guinea, maintain long-term direct relationships with those growers, and manufacture everything in Australian facilities without offshore cost-cutting. Their ingredient lists are short and clean. No PGPR, no TBHQ, no titanium dioxide, no artificial colours or flavours, no glucose syrup. Available through their own stores in South Australia, Victoria, and New South Wales, and nationally online. More expensive than supermarket chocolate, but you are paying for 109 years of uncompromised manufacturing, real cocoa butter never swapped for palm oil, and a supply chain never flagged for child labour or deforestation. Safe pick number 2, Panna Organic, a Melbourne brand producing certified organic plant-based chocolate since 2012. Panna holds Australian certified organic accreditation and manufactures without any of the additives discussed today. Raw cacao, organic coconut sugar, organic cacao butter, natural botanical flavouring, free from refined sugar, dairy, gluten, and soy. Available at Woolworths and Harris Farm markets across Australia. Panna uses lower processing temperatures than industrial manufacturers specifically to preserve the cacao's natural magnesium, iron, and antioxidant flavonols. At the high temperatures Cadbury and Nestle use for manufacturing efficiency, many of those nutrients are destroyed before the product reaches the shelf. For Australians managing inflammatory conditions or dietary sensitivities, this is a chocolate you can eat with genuine confidence rather than the compromise most of us make each time we reach into the supermarket aisle. Safe pick number 1, Lindt Excellence at 70% cocoa and above. Swiss-made, widely available at Woolworths and Coles nationally, and representing the best quality profile of any mass market chocolate sold in Australia at a mainstream price point. The ingredient list for Lindt Excellence 70% contains 4 items: cocoa mass, sugar, cocoa butter, vanilla extract, nothing else. No PGPR, no TBHQ, no titanium dioxide, no glucose syrup, no artificial colors or flavors, no palm oil, no synthetic emulsifiers. The high cocoa percentage delivers genuine antioxidant flavonols that peer-reviewed cardiovascular research supports as beneficial for heart health and cognitive function. For Australians not ready to shift entirely to specialty brands, Lindt Excellence at 70% is the practical bridge between what you have been buying and what you deserve. It is on the shelf at every major supermarket, costs only marginally more than a Cadbury block, and contains none of the synthetic chemistry, making the other 10 brands on today's list a documented health concern. Break off a square. Feel the clean snap. Let it melt slowly. Notice flavor building in layers rather than dissolving instantly. That is what chocolate tastes like when the ingredient list is honest. And there you have it. 10 brands hiding synthetic preservatives, petroleum-derived dyes, industrial emulsifiers and supply chains built on exploitation. 5 brands doing the honest work with ingredients you can read and sourcing you can verify. Go to your kitchen right now. Take out every chocolate bar you own and read the label from start to finish. If you see PGPR, put it back. TBHQ, put it back. Food additive 171, put it back. Glucose syrup in a product marketed as real chocolate, put it back. You do not have to give up chocolate. You have to stop giving your trust to corporations that have been replacing real food with industrial chemistry. Drop a comment with the brand you're clearing out today. Share this with anyone you know still reaching for the purple block without thinking. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another guide like this one. Real, honest chocolate still exists. Stay sharp, read every single label, and keep rising.